G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Aaron Whitnall. This is ACW Sport and week 33 of the 2017-2018 Premier League season, for me, only really had one key game to it in terms of standoutness, which, if that's even a word, you will completely understand what I'm talking about in just a moment, because aside from that, everything was kind of normal and a bit dull, really. But anyway, let's get down to the one big game of the weekend that delivered on every single level. And I am, of course, talking about the Manchester derby. Manchester City versus Manchester United. And United spoiled City's title parade. This was supposed to be the game that would go down in history. Manchester City would beat Manchester United, lift the Premier League trophy, and forever be able to rub it in their arch rivals' faces. And at half-time, it seemed like they were going to demolish United. Now, for the opening 25 minutes, this game was fairly tame. Not too much really happening, and everything was going perfectly to plan in Jose's world. Then out of nowhere, City scored from a corner. Vincent Kompany with a thunderous header, a real captain's goal. And it's the third corner that City had scored against United so far this season. Jose was fuming about it, as he explained after the game. But from there, City just went on the rampage. And at half-time, it could have been 4-5-0. Sterling missed some absolute sitters, but Gundogan did make it 2 with a wonderful, almost like half Cruyff turn before toe poking it past David De Gea into the bottom corner. And United looked dead and buried. They were awful after 25 minutes in the first half, and there just didn't seem any way back for them. They were 50-1 at half-time to get any form of result from this game, and it just looked like City were going to blitz them, and literally City's almost perfect season was going to culminate in this unbelievable thrashing of Manchester United. But whatever Jose said to his team at half-time, bear in mind he didn't make any changes, worked, because all of a sudden Paul Pogba went from someone that was just playing like a complete flop, an 80-90 million pound flop, played like the player that we all know he can be. This incredible, world-class, dominating midfielder, and a quick-fire double from him brought United back into it. But as much as his goals were so brilliant in terms of the way he finished them, it was the setups that were spectacular. Ander Herrera chesting the ball perfectly into Pogba's path to get United back into the game after Sanchez had laid it onto him to do that. And then Sanchez with a stunning cross to get Pogba to level it up for United. And then only moments later, another wonderful Sanchez delivery from a free kick saw Chris Smalling unmarked, finishing past Ederson in goal. And yeah, United were 3-2 up. The Reds were in dreamland because they just didn't see this coming. Manchester United were buzzing, let's put it that way. And yeah, like out of nowhere, this incredible comeback, one of the best in Premier League history, was complete. But it was a very bizarre game after, because even though United had come out all guns blazing, got themselves in the lead out of nowhere, then they started to kind of step back a little bit. City all of a sudden decided to step forward, but everything was a bit of a panic, and it started to feel more like a real derby as the game went on and on and on, because things got more heated. City were very unlucky to not have at least one penalty in this game. Ashley Young handling in the first half, and then in the second half putting in a tackle on Aguero that, look, Young did get the ball, but for the sheer force of the tackle and the fact that his leg was raised and made contact with Aguero's kneecap, it could have been a leg breaker on another day. Young was lucky not to concede a penalty and to have been sent off. Fernandinho was pretty lucky to not be sent off as well. And then later on, De Gea produced another wonderful save from Aguero to keep all 3 points with United. And yeah, that was it. United won, which pretty much confirms second place for me, really. Like, I can't see them dropping that position, which means that, the two teams in Manchester are the best two teams in the country. City will inevitably win the Premier League, but even if they beat Spurs next weekend, which I'm not sure they're going to do, they still won't win the Premier League. So United have really spoiled the party. And this perfect season, especially if they don't overcome Liverpool in midweek, does have a slight bit of disappointment in there. So, massive result in the Manchester derby. Absolutely crazy game. Great to see the likes of Kompany and Gundogan get on the score sheet for City, because they've both been through such hard kind of journeys with injuries and stuff like that over the years. Pogba, it was great to see him finally step up to the mark and almost send a message to Jose, really, of, look, if you play me and allow me to just do what I want to do, look what I can do on the biggest stages. So hopefully Jose will actually allow him to do that from now on, but we'll have to see. But yeah, unbelievable game in Manchester, and yeah, just an absolute. I'm still in astonishment. A few days later, it was absolutely incredible. As for the rest of the Premier League, everything was fairly standard. I mean, Tottenham, they beat Stoke 2-1 at the Britannia Stadium. All right, Stoke got back into the game from a Hugo Lloris blunder that allowed Juve to score, but Eriksen with 2 lovely goals. Good work from Ali for the first to just hold the ball up and then lay it off to Eriksen. Bit of controversy. Was it Kane's? Was it Eriksen's? From the sounds of things, everyone's giving it to Eriksen, even though Kane does claim he did get a touch, so we're going to have to give it to Eriksen. But yeah, it was just a fairly kind of standard, hard-fought win for Tottenham without them playing particularly well. Arsenal, they got a hard-fought home win over Southampton, who really gave it their all. They really went for it against Arsenal as well. They knew with the atmosphere at the Emirates being so dead, the stadium being half empty, everything's a bit toxic at Arsenal at the moment. Southampton, obviously fighting for their lives. They just don't have the quality in front of goal because Charlie Austin's been injured for so long this season. 2 have got themselves in a position where they can stay up for me, which is why they fell short once again. But yeah, I mean, look, Ward-Prowse had a chance early on, cleared off the line by Bellerin. Southampton were just all guns blazing. They then took the lead through Shane Long, who got in between Mustafa and Cech, but that was it was just a really bizarre moment for Arsenal. Really bad defending, but it was Shane Long's only 2nd Premier League goal of the season. That just says everything you need to know about Southampton's strikers this season. They haven't been what you'd hope they'd be. Aubameyang, he then got Arsenal level and continued his fantastic start to life in the Premier League. 6 goals in 7 appearances in the Premier League for Arsenal. And he scored with Arsenal's first attempt. Danny Welbeck, he got 2 goals in this game and missed an absolute sitter. Both fairly kind of standard Welbeck goal. One was a deflected effort, the other one was a header kind of tap in at the back post. Charlie Austin did score for Southampton to make it 2-2 at one point after coming on as a sub. Pretty much scored straight away. Later on, there was some late drama when Wilshere and Stevens clashed, which saw Stevens sent off. And then only a few moments later, El Nini was then sent off as well. I think Welbeck was unlucky to not get away with a sending off as well, because for me, he was doing just as bad as Stevens in the whole kind of tangle. But yeah, look, it was disappointing from Southampton's perspective. They definitely deserved to get something from the game. But look, Arsenal keep kind of charging on. They're trying to close the gap on Chelsea. And at the moment, Chelsea are allowing them to catch them because Chelsea could only draw at home to West Ham. Chelsea's 2018 is absolutely rubbish. I think they just want to get to the end of the season now. They can win the FA Cup. That is just a massive bonus. But I'm struggling to see them doing it because if they face United or Spurs at the moment, I don't see how Chelsea can win because they're just not in good form. And, you know, you look at some of the better performances they've had this season, you wonder where they've gone because the team that you're watching at the moment is just kind of dull to watch. Don't get me wrong, Joe Hart made some good saves, particularly against Willian in the first half, but then Chelsea did score from the resulting corner through Aspilicueta. But the second, West Ham brought on Javier Hernandez and they had a true goal threat. Don't get me wrong, Arnautovic was playing well. Hernandez changed it entirely, got the goal that levelled it up. It's his 8th Premier League goal of the season. Makes you wonder why West Ham won't start him, because with him and Arnautovic, and like I've said, Lanzini and Antonio, when they are all fit, if they had all of them on the pitch at the same time, they could really create some damage this season. But a very good point for West Ham in their survival to stay up. Crystal Palace, will be bitterly disappointed they threw away the lead at Bournemouth. Bournemouth, though, the comeback kings this season. They've won 18 points from losing positions this season, more than any other team in the Premier League. But, I mean, yeah, it was a strange... Again, every game was kind of strange in their own way. Wilson missed a big chance for Bournemouth earlier on. Then Milivojevic, he gave Palace the lead, and he has had a true captain season. 7 goals in his last 12 games in the Premier League. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, most of them were penalties, but this was a wonderful free kick. He's on almost like him and Zaha, a 2-man mission to keep the team up at the moment. I think they're going to as well. But yeah, I think in the end they will be satisfied with a point to a degree, even though they did throw away a goal in the last moment, because for me, Bournemouth did still have the better of the play. Bournemouth can be a tough place to go when they are facing teams that are in and around them. We've seen that, and they do like to get the odd big result as well. But yeah, I mean, after that, Begovic, he made some good saves from the likes of Van Aanholt and Zaha, only for Moussa to then make it 1-1. Zaha then made it 2-1 with another deflected effort, and then King made it 2-2 in the dying moments as well. So that's how that game finished off. And yeah, another point for Bournemouth. They're safe, so it didn't really matter too much for them. But I think Palace have done enough now to stay up, really, particularly when you take into consideration the results for West Brom, Stoke and Southampton this weekend. Newcastle, they all but secured safety in the Premier League once again by picking up a fantastic win away at Leicester. A lovely goal from John Joe Shelby, his first Premier League goal of the season, surprisingly. Dummying it, which fooled 3 Leicester players before finishing wonderfully into the bottom corner, gave Newcastle the lead. Then Perez made it 2-0 with a wonderful lob over Kasper Schmeichel. Jamie Vardy pulled one back late on for Leicester, but the damage was done and Newcastle did enough to get all 3 points. Burnley, they then beat Watford 2-1 away at Watford in a very Burnley performance. Watford, again, you're never sure what you're going to get with Watford. One week they can be absolutely class, the next week they can be absolutely rubbish. This was kind of like a meh performance. Pereira did give them the lead, but Burnley, they turned it around fairly quickly through Vokes, who scored literally within 10 seconds of coming on as a substitute, and then Cork, after scrambling the ball over the line, following a really big scramble in the box to get the ball into the goal. But another big point for another big 3 points for Burnley, and 7th place is all but secure for them now as well. Then come to the more kind of dull games. So West Brom, they drew 1-1 with Swansea. Not really too much to talk about in this game. James Rodriguez, he scored his 10th goal of the season to give West Brom the lead, only for Tammy Abrahams to equalise for Swansea, which quite surprisingly was his first goal in the Premier League since October. And then you had Brighton, they drew 1-1 with Huddersfield. There were some good chances for both teams here, but overall it was just mistakes that led to both of the goals. So for a start, you had Lossell, who was kind of caught up by Solly Marsh's shot. He could only tip it against the post, only for the ball to come back, hit him and then go in. And then only moments later, Duffy, he then passed the ball back to goal that led to Mounier scoring. And that was, Huddersfield's first goal in over 7 hours. So Brighton will be disappointed they dropped some home points, but at the same time, I think these two teams are safe now as well. And then finally, a game that I didn't expect to be talking about last, we had Everton versus Liverpool in what was possibly the most boring Merseyside derby maybe ever played in the Premier League. Very dull 0-0, but then neither team really had too much to play for in the Premier League anymore. Liverpool are secure in the top 4 for me. I don't think Chelsea are going to catch them. Everton are securely in mid-table. They're safe. They're not getting relegated. And yeah, it was just a very boring game to watch. So yeah, that's pretty much how everything played out in week 33 of the Premier League season. But comment below, let me know, were there any major talking points that you kind of took out of this weekend, or any goals or any kind of key instance that you want to talk about a bit more? If so, please comment below, let me know. Always interested to find out your thoughts on how the weekend's action went down. As always, I'm Aaron Whitnall, and I'll be back tomorrow with my Champions League second leg predictions for the quarter-finals. As always, take care, and don't forget to subscribe to ACW Sport.